Any more funny questions?
Why not? He fancies you, Rob.
Well, I don't fancy him, my love, and I certainly don't fancy spending the evening traipsing up and down the embankment, sucking an orange and listening to a blow-by-blow account of why failed his second FB.
Is that what he does?
That's what he did when he took Tucker out.
I'll see you for coffee.
Okay.
Hey! What was the orange for?
I don't know. Perhaps he couldn't afford a lemon.
Oh, hello. I don't think I can remember where the canteen is.
Oh, follow me, love. According to my brothers, I can always find my way to the food, even blindfold. Oh, dear.
They don't fit all that well, do they? How's yours?
Apparently they shrink after they've been washed a few times. And if they don't, you can take them down to the sewing room and have a few little tucks between.
I don't need a little tuck. I need a total remake.
Oh, you coming with us to breakfast?
No, I'll see you there. I promised Maureen I'd wait for her.
Oh, okay.
Hi. Hey, we seem to have an awful lot to do.
Today, yeah. Best way, though. Chuck you in at the deep end. You're not nervous, are you?
No?
What's that? I wish I was on a men's ward.
Why?
They're much more jolly. They all talk more.
I thought it was the women who were supposed to be the gas bags.
Not in hospital. It is always the men who are making the jokes.
Yes, well, they're not lying. They're worrying about who's looking after the kids and who's getting the old man's dinner.
I know, but it is good to have a laugh sometimes.
And get chatted up.
It does them good to talk to us in this way. When they do that, we know they are getting better. Another coffee?
Oh, thanks. Smashing.
Never thought I'd sleep with a wind spark out. Must have been all that sherry.
All that sherry? You had at least 3 teaspoons.
I don't usually drink at all.
Oh, sorry if I've corrupted you, Maureen. Your mother did warn you about us speaking English.
Thought you never had breakfast.
Well, I thought I'd better fortify myself for the terrors that lie ahead. Oh, crumbs. Not one of those that remembers everything people say, are you?
Good morning.
Hello there.
Hey, listen, what time do we have to be in the classroom?
Oh, lecture room. Do you mind?
Where's the salt? At 9 o'clock officially, but they like you to be there 5 minutes before, so we can start in time.
Naturally.
Morning, Pauline. Ready for the fray?
Just about. I must say the medical illustrator's made rather a super job of these.
Let's see. Good. You seen your group?
The list, yes.
Sorrell, Pugh, Regan, Greenhalgh, Rutherford, Flynn, Houston, Morahan, Allen and Lacey. I've put Pugh and Houston together. They're both RMN students. They'll be able to work as a pair. Peter Flynn's a nice lad. He's the only boy in your group. He's done a year as a hospital porter to see how he liked the feel of the job. Morahan's the youngest, the little girl from Ireland. Might be a bit lonely. Good morning. May I have your attention, please? As you know, I am Miss Windrup, your senior nursing tutor. We'll be seeing a lot of each other in the next 12 weeks. Now, this morning will be mainly routine, taken up with signing your contract, seeing about your insurance numbers, paying your £1 fee. You already know about that. You'll also have your photographs taken for our hospital records, and the medical officer of health will take down your medical history. You should fit all that in before your coffee break. Your general timetable is pinned on the wall, and you must refer to it each day. Shows how your time is allocated between lectures, practical work, private or guided study, and ward visits. I won't give you too many do's and don'ts on the first day, but I can't stress too highly that punctuality is absolutely essential. More than that, punctuality should be a habit, not a matter of making a supreme effort. A nurse with a sloppy attitude to timekeeping simply will never make a good nurse. All right? Now, if at any time you're not well enough to report for duty, and I must say at the moment you look a remarkably healthy lot, either ring the department yourselves or get a friend to do it. If you're going to be off sick for more than 3 days, you'll need a sick note. And I must warn you, we do come down quite heavily on unjustified absenteeism. Now, if at any time you have a grievance, we must first sort out what kind of grievance it is. Grievances about off-duty or holidays belong to the service side, that is the non-school side. Grievances about school training come to me as senior nursing tutor. Personal problems, you must feel free to come to any member of staff, whoever is available, whoever you happen to get on with. We do all try to be accessible. I think you'll find we're a little more understanding than you probably give us credit for at this stage. May come as a huge revelation to you, but you're not the first bunch of students who've started their training at St. Angela's. Now, I know some of you are itching to get to the sewing room to have your uniforms adjusted, and we don't mind you having them generally taken in and shortened a few inches, but please, nurses, don't go round with your knickers showing. I am, of course, speaking only to the ladies present. Now, just 1 or 2 minor points, and then we'll split you up into smaller groups. Introduce you to Mrs. Smart, one of your other nursing tutors.
No, we should be able to cope. Staff Nurse Rogers comes back from leave in a couple of days, and until then, Nurse Brent will have to act as staff temporarily. Well, if I get any mad panics, I'll give you an SOS. Is Nurse Brent about?
Oh, she's just finishing Mr. Colebrook's bed, sister.
I'll ask her to come and see me when she's free, will you? Have you looked in on Mr. Krasowski?
Not since I gave him his injection. He hasn't rung his bell.
Well, he won't, will he? The ones who need it never do. Well, all right, Ness. I'll go.
Sister's looking for you.
Oh?
Guess who's going to be acting staff nurse? Oh, good. Everything all right?
Oh, all except my insurance number. I worked in a shop for 6 weeks and they said that they'd tell me what it was and they haven't.
Oh, I shouldn't worry. We can sort that out.
Okay.
Sarah Regan, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, as you all know, I'm Mrs. Smart. I'm your nursing tutor. You'll be with me for theory and for some practical sessions. Although for some you'll be with other clinical instructors and with Miss Windrup, who also does classwork. I'll be marking your written work, and while we're on that subject, it's most important that you develop good study habits from the start. Can anybody tell me what I mean by that?
Sit at a desk in a good light, using a textbook and writing down notes.
Very good. Sometimes a nurse will think she can just read through a book, and that's study.
Please, do we get a lot of homework?
Well, it's not like being at school. We don't give you something and say, hand that in by Friday. There's a period of 3 months between each of your study blocks, and for example, you'll be given case histories to do. But you'll be able to choose your own patient and write about him, his background, how you get on with him, his nursing care, and eventual prognosis.
Do you mean with real people?
We're not here to deal with dolls. Now, today I want to introduce you briefly to the various programs you'll be doing. Anatomy, physiology, communal health. You'll have a full introductory talk to all of these later in the week. After lunch, we're going to tackle what is still, even in these super automated days, one of the basic essentials of being a good nurse, bed making. And then we'll go on a quick tour of the hospital.
On the wards?
Well, only in the first instance as visitors, although later in the week we may help to feed patients on the geriatric ward.
Oh, great.
As I said, nurse, only as visitors, observers, by courtesy of the ward sister. It's up to us as a group to make certain that we don't get in the way. The staff have enough to cope with already. All right?
Poor old Plumfoot. Suspected appendectomy, and just as she was about to take her midi. Never mind poor old Plumfoot, she'll live. What about poor old me? Charming, what about you? Her staff nurse Plum has unfortunately been taken ill. Nurse Brent will be acting staff until we can get a replacement on the ward. Oh, indeed. Give Surly Shirley a bit of power and she'll have me on my hands and knees, scrubbing the ward floor with a nail brush and standing over me with a blooming great whip. Oh, blow it. I'm going to skip salad and have chips. Have you anyone what Sally Fairbanks said to me this morning?
No, what did Sally Fairbanks say to you this morning?
She said we looked alike.
She what?
Like twins, she said.
Ooh, charming.
I love you too. How do you think you'll cope then? Think you'll be able to keep Brent's power lust in check?
Oh, drop off. It's not too bad, so long as Easby keeps a pretty sharp eye on things.
Yeah, she's not that bad, Easby. A bit grim, but her bark's worse than her, what's it?
Is this the end? Is every man for himself here? How do you like being angels, then?
Being what?
Angels. It's right, isn't it, Foreman?
Well, what she means is it's a nickname we got stuck with. Angels. Well, St. Angela's, see? And Ministry.
Oh, yuck. I think it's rather clever.
You wouldn't worry.
How does he seem?
Not too good.
Still very restless. How are you feeling, Mr. Smethurst? You had a bit of a tangle with a bus. You don't remember. Taking Mr. Palmer's pulse?
I was just about to, sister.
When was the last time?
20 to 1.
A half hourly doesn't mean approximately once an hour. If you were busy, you should have got one of the juniors to do it. These observations are very important, and it's up to you as acting staff to set a good example. You learn to delegate chores if you're too busy to do them yourself. Answer that for me, would you?
Yes, sister.
You're in hospital, Mr. Smethurst, St. Angela's. Your wife's been, but we've sent her home for a little while. She'll be back later, all right?
Men's Surgical, Ward 14. Well, she's busy at the moment. Can I? I'm acting as staff nurse. I see. Yes, I've got it. Is Shirley? No, Christian, Lindy. Sorry, is the dietitian coming in today? Yes. Well, can you ask her about Mr. Adams? He's pining to go back onto solids. Mr. Adams? And Mr. Wynn's about ready to come off fluids as well, I'd say. That was the path lab with Mr. Smethurst's blood count.
Well, then you write it down.
Well, no, I think...
You must always write things down, nurse. But you can't rely on your memory when a patient's life may be at risk, can you? Well, all right. See to Mr. Palmer and then get started on the drugs. Get one of the second years to help you, Nurse Clark, maybe. Oh, but watch her on those new charts. She doesn't understand them yet. And we'll have to try and fit in a teaching session sometime. Perhaps you could do that. Well, Staff Nurse Plum used to take a lot of the student supervision off my shoulders. I just haven't got time for it, I'm afraid.
Yes, sister.
Oh, and do keep an eye on Mr. Smethurst and let me know if there's any change at all in his condition.
Yes, sister.
Now, one of you on each side of the bed, the rest watch. Take hold of the sheet, pull it tight across the bed so you can see how much you've got. That's it. So you've got equal amounts on either side of the bed. Now, stand with your feet well apart. Rock so that you're not straining your body. I know it sounds like an Olympic exercise, but by the time you've made a few dozen beds in a morning, you'll soon know if you haven't done it sensibly. The opening of the pillow and the wording on it should be on the side away from the ward door. What for? Neatness. It's just as easy to do it all the right way as the wrong way.
Oh, Mr. Goff, you've got to stop worrying. It'll take you that much longer to get better.
But they never tell you anything. They never tell you what they're doing.
What do you want to know? What's going to happen? All right, I'll tell you. Tonight, you'll have a nice warm bath. Then we'll give you something to make you sleep. We want you to get a good night's rest, all right? Then tomorrow, we'll have to wake you up a little bit earlier than usual because you're first on the list for theatre. You'll have to have a tube down your nose to drain off the stomach contents. I know it's not much fun, but you have had that before, so you won't find it too alarming, will you? Then an injection as your pre-medication. That'll make your mouth go dry, and you'll be all nice and sleepy, ready to go down. That's all. Okay? Nurse? Have you nothing better to do than stand chatting all day? Oh, but Mr. Lewis asked for a urinal at least 20 minutes ago. He's getting very upset. All right.
Right, well, I'll see you all in the morning then. I hope you've enjoyed your first day. Are there any questions before I go?
Seems to jump about a lot.
What does?
Well, I mean, 1 minute we're doing the muscular system, then we're doing nursing theory, then we're doing the circulatory system, then the use of English in nursing. Then we're showing a film, This Is Your Lung.
Nurse Sarah Regan, this is your lung.
It's not as slap happy and random as it sounds. All the lectures are in fact related as far as possible. So that, for example, you have the muscular system, that's joints and movement, as near as possible to the time when you're learning about lifting and positioning a patient. You know then why certain positions are best, rather than just being told that they are.
Mrs. Smart, what's this thing about the use of English in nursing?
Yes?
Well, surely that's a bit of a time waster.
Well, it's a fairly new idea, but I think it's a very good one. You're obviously a very articulate girl, Nurse Rutherford, but not all students have learned how to express themselves quite so well, particularly in their written work.
What's wrong? Nothing. I think everything seems very sensible so far. You're much too impatient, Pat.
Yes, I know. Can't wait to be matron. Come on, I'll show you the sights.
What?
Of London town. All you've seen of it so far is the tube between Paddington and here, and that's not exactly a tourist's must.
Pat, I've got things to do. Well, I want to write home.
You wrote home last night.
Only a note. I was too tired to write much. I want to tell them all about today.
Look, leave it till tomorrow, then you'll have 2 whole exciting, bustling, fascinating days as a nurse to tell them about.
Well, what would we do?
Well, we'll start with the strip joints in Soho, and then we'll... Oh, Maureen, what do you think we'll do? All the usual corny tourist bit. I'll show you Piccadilly, Marble Arch, and the Mall, St James's Park, Westminster Abbey. Oh, and the changing of the guard.
Buckingham Palace.
Of course, Buckingham Palace. We can't miss that out. I mean, who knows if she's in? She might even invite us to tea.
Nurse Morrihan just come over from Ireland, Your Majesty.
Oh, Pat, you're a real fool.
Are you off now?
Yes, sister.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Nurse Brent,
Yes, sister.
I know it's tough asking you to step into staff's shoes at a moment's notice.
Oh, I don't mind at all. I'm enjoying it. Of course, I am sorry Nurse Plum is ill.
I've no worries about your competence to do the job. You are a third-year nurse after all. But being a staff nurse, even temporarily, that's not just a matter of nursing competence. Being able to take responsibility, and use your authority and make decisions. In my absence, you'd be in complete charge of the ward.
Yes. I understand that, sister.
Well, so long as you do. Ward 14, Sister Easby. Ah, yes. Yes. Yes.
It's early days yet, but they seem a pretty reasonable bunch.
You managed to get round the wards?
Tomorrow, some of them still have problems to sort out with their insurance numbers. And filling in those GNC forms took longer than it should.
Always does. Some people's minds go blank when they look at a form, I know. I'm one of them.
They had a look around the library, met the librarian. I explained to them how she could help them by suggesting various textbooks. 1 or 2 of them looked quite relieved. I think they thought they'd be thrown in and told to find out for themselves.
Oh, they need to know they've got plenty of support at this stage.
Mind you, then you get the girls that resent it, like that Patricia Rutherford.
Isn't she the one who's done a year at teacher training college?
Maybe the reason why she considers herself a bit superior. No, that's unfair. She's obviously an upper-class girl, but I don't think she's a snob, not socially. She's just rather patronising about us.
Thinks we're a load of old-fashioned fusspots.
I think she's very anxious to get on with being a nurse. She's no time for the fripperies.
Like learning the nuts and bolts of the job. It's a lot like that. Doesn't usually take long to put them straight, particularly if they're tall bright.
She obviously is. That's exactly why she's so impatient.
Cup of coffee?
No, I've a load of essays to mark. Thanks all the same.
Sounds like someone's in for a nice evening.
She was obviously getting me in some way. I don't know what she meant.
Oh, I do not think so.
She was. Why else did she go on about making decisions and taking responsibility?
She was just telling you what being a staff nurse means.
I know what it means. I have done 3 years training.
Yes, but never before have you actually had to be a staff nurse. I mean, not all of us can assume a higher job. I do not like to tell people what to do.
Oh, I don't mind that.
Perhaps. Is it possible that is what Sister Easby meant?
Bossy bitch. You wait till you get your badge. I'll bet you'll be telling Matron what to do.
That's the whole point. She hasn't got her badge.
Yes, but for the purpose of the exercise, you're supposed to treat her as if she has. At least for the next few days. Oh, for God's sake, stop moaning and learn to live with it. Or I'm going to the pictures on my own.
Oh, knickers. I'm not going to let her spoil our evening. We must be potty. Come on. Who is it? Jack Nicholson or Robert Redford? Have we decided?
Toss for it.
Pity. Why? We could have had one each.
Nurse's home. Who? Morgan. Morahan, student nurse Morahan.
Oh, she's gone outside seeing.
Oh, I'm afraid she isn't here at the moment. Oh, dear.
It's ever so big, isn't it?
Look, it's the mansion house. It's where the Lord Mayor lives. Oh, that's the corn exchange.
that? It was fantastic. Enjoyed it? Did I? Oh, well, we only saw a tiny fraction. London's a pretty big place, you know. There's the museums, the art galleries, the parks. What I'd love to see is the crown jewels, and all around the tower.
Right, crown jewels on our next itinerary.
What is it? My brother phoned. He wants me to ring right away. He says it's very important. Well, we better go down and see. I can't. He phoned us after 6:30 from the local shop. Mummy hasn't got a telephone. I can't go waking them all up now. It's gone 11.
But if it's important...
No.
Look, love, leave it till the morning. You're quite right. You can't expect the neighbours to go trotting around at this time of night. They've all been in bed hours ago. How old did you say he was?
Patrick, 13.
Well, then, it's probably some little message he forgot to give you or something. You know how kids like to dramatise. If it was really important or something was wrong, your mother would have phoned herself, wouldn't she? Or one of the grown-ups.
I suppose so.
Of course they would. Probably he just fancied making a long-distance call to England.
Patrick would.
OK, then. You hop into bed, get a good night's sleep and phone first thing in the morning before he goes to school.
Yes. Yes, I'll do that. And Pat? Thanks. There we are, Petal. You've been very good. In a few minutes, your mouth will start to go dry, but as I told you, that's perfectly normal. Then you'll start to feel lovely and dozy. OK. Only your wife will be allowed to visit you tonight, but I think Sister explained that to Mrs. Goff when she came last night. Well, you won't exactly feel like rock and rolling anyway. Perhaps tomorrow.
First dance?
With me, you're on.
Nurse?
I shall want you to accompany Mr. Goff down to the theatre.
Yes, I know.
Nurse Naraka was going, but I've had to send her to the blood bank. Yes, I do know. Sister's already told me.
Anyway, it's always the way now. Here she comes.
Patrick says I'll have to go home. He says Mummy's missing me something awful. She's done nothing but cry since I came away.
Well, obviously she'll miss you, love. I mean, you miss them, but not as much, because you've been madly busy, that's all. Doesn't mean you've got to go back.
I should never have left.
Hasn't she got any nurse?
Just the little ones. A couple of aunts in the next village and neighbours. She's depended on me since my dad died.
Well, naturally, it's left a big gap in her life. But she'll get over it. Listen, why don't you nip home for a few days? Let her see you're well and happy, and I'm sure she'll be perfectly okay.
How can I?
Well, ask them to give you a few days off.
Do you think they would?
If you explain why, I'm sure they would.
Oh, that's a bit tough. She's only just made the journey.
I know, but it won't be so bad now she knows the ropes. It's in a good cause. I can lend you the fare, that's no problem.
Thanks all the same, Pat. I have a little save for an emergency. I can manage.
Right then, first thing after breakfast, you go and see Windrop.
The skull has the function of protecting the brain. Today we're dealing with pressure areas. Can anybody tell me what a pressure area is?
Places where patients who have been in bed a long time get sore.
More or less, although they don't necessarily have to have been bed patients for a great length of time. Simply, a pressure area is where the bone is near the surface, so that the skin is trapped between, say, the bed and the bony prominence. Oh yes, do take notes. This is the occiput on the skull. Pressure can occur here and on the temple bones. These are the spines on the vertebrae or backbone. Pelvic pressure can occur here and on the pelvis, the sacrum at the back, and the iliac crest. Aren't you writing this down, nurse? At the end of this period of study, I want you all to be able to describe a pressure area, a pressure sore, and the nursing procedures used to prevent that development. You'll be doing that as a guided study project plus an essay. Did you manage to see Miss Windrop?
No, she was in a meeting. Got to go back at 10:30.
All right. Just sit down and join in. We've only just started.
Don't worry, it'll be okay.
You pass these round, nurse.
Come on, Mr. Finch, we want to turn you over onto your other side. Oh, Come on, over we go. That's it. He wishes we'd just stop bothering him, don't you? No. Oh, well, it is for your own good. We don't want you to get sore. That's it. Nice and comfy on that side. We'll be bringing hot drinks round in a minute. Cup of tea?
How was Mr. Goff when you went up with him?
Not so bad. A bit less apprehensive, but then he was getting fuzzy. Poor guy had really got himself tied up in knots about the op. I don't think his wife exactly helped.
Oh, partial gastrectomy is no joke.
Yes, but there are ways of talking to people. All she seemed to do was sit there and worry the poor man even more.
There's always somebody who knows somebody who came into a hospital reasonably fit and went home an invalid. Oh, nurse, I've got a sisters' meeting in a few minutes. I'm leaving you in charge, all right?
Yes, sister.
Any problems, bleat for number 7. And make sure that bed's ready for the admission from casualty.
Yes, sister. Nurse, we've a multiple fracture on the way up from casualty. Get that bed ready, would you?
I was just off on my coffee break.
You'll have to postpone it. Take it at 10 o'clock. You know we're short-handed.
Yes. Is it all right if I just pop across to men's medical?
What for?
Only to let Foreman know I won't be going to the canteen.
You can't leave the ward whenever you like just to alter your social arrangements, you know.
It's only across the corridor. I don't want to keep her hanging around for nothing. Oh, all right.
I should think so.
I'm sorry, my dear, but it's a hospital rule and a very firm one. During the introductory course, a girl can only have 3 days leave. In order to get home and back and make quite sure everything was all right with your mother, you'd need at the very least a week, wouldn't you?
Yes.
If you really are concerned about the situation at home, the only thing I can suggest is that you go back and then return to us for the start of the new course. If you've sorted things out happily, that is.
When would that be, then?
Well, not for another 6 months, I'm afraid. We only have an intake twice a year. We'd be very sorry to lose you, nurse. Just the kind of girl we want. I have a feeling that eventually you'd be a great credit to the profession.
It's what I've always wanted to do, ever since I was a little girl.
Position number 2, the recumbent position.
Position 3, the missionary position.
Position number 3, semi-recumbent. I've got a better idea. Let's do the real thing. Over to the bed, everybody, and we'll have a demonstration. That's right, Peter. You hop into the bed. Quick. Now, I want a volunteer to position the patient in the semi-recumbent position, position number 3. Nurse Houston, use these pillows. Good, yes. If you move them slightly this way, it gives more room for his back. Makes you more comfortable. Now we'll have the prone position. Nurses, could we have everyone's attention, please? Nurse Houston, if you remove these pillows.
12 weeks.
Peter, tell her
That's bloody ridiculous. It's a rule.
Oh, stuff their rules.
Oh, Pat.
Nurse Rutherford,
I'm sorry.
would you and Nurse Regan like to demonstrate now?
Yes.
It's a deadline.
Yes.
Mr. Smethurst, road accident.
Oh, yes. Well, Mr. Smithers quite comfortable at the moment.
Thing is, can we see him?
Is the child yours?
That's our Paul.
I'm afraid I can't allow you to take him into the ward.
Oh, heck.
It's not very convenient at this moment in time. We are rather busy.
I don't mind waiting, like.
Well, perhaps if you went for a cup of tea somewhere, came back in 1/4 hour?
Well, shall we be able to take our Paul in?
I'm sorry. You'll have to see your father one at a time. One of you will have to stay out here with the baby.
But it's Paul we fetched to see him. My dad will want to see Paul.
Come on, love. We're going to have a cup of tea like the nurse says and come back.
Men said you're very 14. But I'm acting as staff nurse. Can I help you?
Nursing is as much a social skill as a practical one. It calls for tact and ability to deal with people. It's no good going up to a patient and saying, "You're going to have a bed bath." It sounds like an order and they'll instinctively resent it. Nurse Regan, would you like to suggest how you might go about it?
What, tell somebody they're going to have a bed bath? Well, say that's what Sister says I've got to do.
Well, that's still more or less an order, isn't it? No, you invite them. The tone of your voice, your facial expression, your whole attitude is important. Nurse Houston here is an elderly patient.
Oh.
She's been in bed for some time and is in more or less constant distress as a result of her condition. She's rather bewildered and disorientated by the hospital world.
She's not the only one.
She needs comfort and sympathy quite as much as medical care. How about a nice bed bath, Mrs. Houston? It'll make you feel fresh and comfy, and we can use some of that gorgeous talc your son brought you. Now I want 2 nurses, one to help and one to do the actual washing. Nurse Morahan, would you like to do the washing? And Nurse Pugh, you can assist. Nurse Morahan.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Smart. No, Sister's still at a meeting, Dr. Armitage. Yes, I'll ask her to ring you as soon as she gets back.
Hello there. Have you come to give us a hand?
We could do with it, fella. Come on, let's go and find your mum. Where is she? Where's Mum? Is this Mummy?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nurse. He just ran off. We couldn't stop him.
That's all right. There's no harm done. He's fine, aren't you, eh? Oh, are you waiting to see somebody?
Dad. Mr. Smethurst. He was in a road accident.
Oh, yes. He's doing quite nicely. Paul's his grandson, then?
Apple of his own granddad's eye he is. Only she said we weren't allowed to take him in.
Why not?
Oh, I don't know.
That's funny. We do let children on the ward. Who was it said this?
Tall, dark, plump one.
Oh, yeah, she had glasses on.
Said one of us would have to stop out here with him. But if his granddad knows he's here, he'll go mad to see him.
Hang on, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
My phone.
Just for a minute. We've 3 very sick patients here, and Mr. Smethurst himself isn't too clever. Seeing the little boy, back him up. That child is totally uncontrollable. You've heard the racket he makes. I can't risk him disturbing my ward. Your ward? In Sister Easby's absence and as acting staff nurse, yes. My ward. It's your decision. Exactly.
Didn't let us help now. Making her looking at the patient. No? Oh.
So what's happening? Are you going back? Have you decided?
We're going to
We'll have to.
see, you know.
It's all that is to it.
That's the one we can get.
It matters, doesn't it?
What does? Of course it does. I mean, of course it does.
Lucky girl.
Lucky?
And nurses, as you know, we're going on the ward. It's a men's surgical ward, so I want you to keep together and make sure you don't make too much noise, particularly in the corridor. There'll be patients going to and coming from theatre, so mind you don't bump into any trolleys. I'm sure you won't. Oh, Nurse Regan, do you think you could have another go at pinning your hair up? It does seem to be straggling down a bit. Nurse Rutherford, you do know you're not allowed to wear jewellery.
But it's only a signet ring.
Nevertheless, would you like to lead the way? Nurse Pugh, do you mind trimming your nails down a bit again tonight? I'm sorry, I know it's a shame, but they are a bit on the long side. Now, I suggest that you go in 2s and talk to the patients. Don't forget that you're only visitors on the ward and it's their home. So even though you're feeling new and rather shy and self-conscious, don't think about yourselves. Go forward to the patient, and if they wish to talk, by all means do so, using your own common sense. If they don't persist. In that way, you're giving something to the ward and not just taking something from the patient in the ward. Just wait one moment.
I think some people would have more sense than bring a kid that size to visit a hospital. Maybe they've got nowhere to leave him.
Come along, nurses.
I'm not frightened of seeing blood. Blood doesn't bother me, but somebody vomiting will.
I suppose it's something you learn to cope with. I mean, you've got to.
Obviously, I couldn't allow them to bring him in. I've told the parents they can come in, certainly. People should understand.
I'm sure they try to, just as we
That's
do.
not the point. We have to look
What I
after
meant was that we should try and understand their problems.
Will you excuse me? The students will try and cause the minimum of disruption, won't they? It's been panic stations all day. Men's Surgical, Ward 14. A new admission? Yes, I'll meet him at the lift. But he is on his way, isn't he? I can't leave the ward for long. Fine.
You grow them yourself? You must have a greenhouse then. I love chrysanths. They're one of my favourites.
I like the great big curly mop heads.
Grow those too. Too big for here. Flower shows.
You do flower shows?
Local Chrysanth Society. Won prizes. Silver medal last year.
Terrific.
Won't be entering this year.
Never mind. Next year you'll be able to, and you'll win the gold, won't you, nurse?
That's a promise.
Look, if you nip him in now for a minute, it'll be okay.
We can?
Only for a minute, and do try to keep him in one spot.
But the other one said that we could...
If you don't hurry up, you won't be able to see your dad at all. Come on.
Thanks, nurse.
I see. Well, thank you for telling me, Pauline.
I don't like snooping.
We're here to train the girls. We see a nurse behaving wrongly, even though inadvertently. It's up to us to do something about it. How's the rest of it going?
So far, so good. I'm worried about one of my group, little nurse Regan. She seems a bit out of things. I think she's homesick. She lacks confidence.
We'll keep an eye on her. If she doesn't find her feet in a week or two, I'll have a word with her. Odd how we have to talk some of the girls into letting their hair down as well as making them pin it up.
Any news of Nurse Morahan?
I think she hopes to come to a decision this evening, one way or the other. She's letting me know.
I'd hate to lose her.
I know. Oh, these things happen. Mrs. Harris, see if you can track down Nurse Brent, would you?
No, Mammy. And you're absolutely sure now, because I can if you... Yes, I heard what you said. Yes, I know what it's costing me. Don't you worry about that. Well, if you're positive. Of course I will. Yes, I am. Great. I'll write all about it tomorrow. Give my love to the kids and yourself. Oh, and Mammy, thank Father Ryan. Bye now, Mammy. Take care. God bless. She was there at Father Ryan's, waiting for me to telephone. And everything's all right.
Young Patrick was just making a mountain out of a molehill.
No, she admitted after I'd gone. She did get awful upset and was crying all the time, like he said. So she was mighty cross, he told me. She said she didn't think she could take it, me going, but Father Ryan talked to her. She'll still miss me like mad, but she's not going to stand in me way and stop me being a nurse, the way my granny had with her.
Your gran was ill.
That's just it. Mammy says she's not sick, just depressed, and she can get over that. She's beginning to already. And now she knows I'm not all mopey miserable. It's making her feel better too.
I told you it would. So you can stay after all?
Yes. Yes, I can stay.
Nurse Longhurst had absolutely no right to flout my authority.
Well, she did behave incorrectly, and I shall certainly have a word with her.
She deliberately took advantage of my absence out of sheer spite.
I don't know the full facts, Nurse. I'm quite sure there was nothing at all personal in it. Nurse Longhurst obviously felt sympathetic to Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert and their predicament.
But I said they could go in.
Without the child?
But one of them could have stayed outside with it. It was a noisy, badly behaved little thing. A kid like that can cause an awful lot of upset on a ward, and there were some pretty ill patients.
Oh, it was only a very temporary inconvenience. The whole visit didn't last more than 5 minutes. I gather Mr. Smathers packed up considerably after seeing his grandson, and none of the other patients raised the slightest objection.
I couldn't be sure of that. I had the welfare of the ward as a whole to consider, and in Sister Easby's absence, it was my responsibility.
Responsibility is a big word. has many implications. You did what you felt was best for the ward as a whole. Perhaps in doing so, you lost sight of what was in the best interests of your patients as individuals.
And what if the two conflict?
Well, they often do. That's when you're most called upon to use your judgment. That doesn't always mean going strictly by the book.
Ignore the rules?
Well, perhaps I'm overstating it. Authority, both with your patients and with your colleagues, must be used wisely, with a sense of humanity. All the qualifications in the world are of no use to a nurse if she's lacking in compassion.
And I suppose you're saying Nurse Longhurst isn't because she let them in.
Nurse Longhurst's behaviour is for me to deal with. Of course, she acted wrongly. She was dealing with her patients not as objects, but as human beings. And that's tremendously important. Do you understand that, nurse?
You make me sick.
Thank you.
Don't you ever put on weight?
Something to do with using up nervous energy.
God, you eat any damn thing you like and stay like a stick. I just have to look at a chocolate and I put on pounds. Have you seen what this girl's eating?
Yeah, I'll have one as well.
You are?
No, make it 2.
The Last Supper. You gone bananas? Probably. I've certainly just done something which is almost definitely guaranteed to get me in severe lumber, if not the boot.
What have you done?
Directly countermanded the orders of my ward superior.
Oh, don't dramatise, Longhurst. Windbag will probably just give you a stiff reprimand. Forget all about it. Oh, it does love the limelight, doesn't it?
I suppose the least I can do is apologise to her. She'd make her look a bit of a twit in front of those people.
Oh.
Shirley?
Yes? I am on first shift tomorrow, aren't I?
Yes. I told you that upstairs.
Just checking. Well, she'd have only spat in my eye anyway.